Round 7 of the final map of the Grand Final, but also more importantly, round 1 of G2's defenses onto Oregon. Now, they're going to start Laundry Supply. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this isn't Laundry Supply, because there's very little site in utility investment. Realistically, there's one player, a couple of reinforcements, and some Goyo canisters. As you can see, all of the freezer wall has been opened. This is a thing that we've seen across W7M's defenses. G2 are also now doing it. One Goyo canister for freezer, one Goyo canister for laundry. One Goyo canister will be for the blue door, and then there will be a spare Goyo canister. Let's just see where they've put it. Maybe for the plant. Where is it, actually? Virtue has placed it down. So there is one additional Goyo canister that we do not know about. Oh, it's for the plant. There it is. I'm absolutely blind. So we've got 4 Goyo canisters, plus 1 player, plus 1 shield in the entirety of site. Now, that is definitely a weak spot, and should W7M realise that, they could have pushed that directly. I don't know if they do. We see that they've brought a Flores outside of blue. It looks like he's just going to be working through and getting rid of some utility. Now, this is where the fun bit comes in for G2, because all of those reinforcements and all of those players had to have gone somewhere, right? Well, meeting wall reinforced. Rotate from meeting to kitchen. 2 walls to T1 reinforced. Attic rotate. Attic hatch closed. G2, dining wall reinforced as well. G2 are doing a full mid-floor roam extension. As you can see, Doki is playing out by garage. One is playing in dining. One is playing up in T2. And one is playing in master spawn peeking. In games window spawn peeking. So G2 are absolutely going to try and fight W7M out on the roam. I'm not sure it's the right play. I think the assets of the laundry supply site on a turtle are so good because teams have to execute twice. Teams have to execute to achieve pillar and blue control or freezer control. Freezer and laundry control. Teams have to execute to achieve step 1 and then execute into site as a step 2. 2 executes need to happen. Now, if you're fully doing the roam, you make it so that teams have a lot of opportunity to kill these roamers and only end up needing 1 execute. So, I've never been a huge fan of roams on this site, but we'll see where it goes. G2 are obviously feeling themselves. They're 4-2 up. It's the grand final. They're about to face, win the SI grand final. They're feeling good, but the choice of strategy for me is a slightly question mark. As we can see, we know that W7M will love to try and just lurk, walk in, find these opportunities. Now, KZ's done that. He's got a kill onto Benjamaster, who's over on the dining side. And as we see in this happen, Herds is also bringing the pace, and he's bringing the pace to try and attack onto Doki in terms of laundry. 1 player dead, 2 player dead, roam squandered, 27 seconds into the round. Round 1, pretty much for W7M. And this is why that I don't necessarily like this roam strategy coming out of G2. So, the Jaeger up on the top floor of Blur is going to have to try and just either find a pick or consolidate the basement. Now, this is typical Herds. Feeling it. He's feeling it. He thinks he's found a gap. He thinks he's found an opportunity. Oh, and he has, because he's in sight, and he's found a kill onto Alamau. Now, panic stations for G2. Herds then finds another kill onto Blair, who's running down the stairs, and it's all left up to Virtue, who is just in Shaco by himself. Guess who finds the final kill? Oh, it's going to be Herds. Great round from W7M, and this is G2 choosing a strategy that plays into the way that W7M want to play. They want to find these openings. They want to find these gaps. They want to slice and dice through it. The best way to play against that is to sit in the power positions, bunker up behind the utility, and then win the round from there. But that isn't what G2 did. In hindsight, I feel that they probably would have changed their strategy on this one. Round number 8. Now, we've just seen G2 run the roam strategy on laundry supply. We can see already that they're doing it again. So we don't need to run through the strategy. It literally happened 3 minutes ago in the video. Now, have W7M changed much? Not really too much. They're not bringing a Flores. They're going to bring a Lion, who can achieve the same outcome by getting rid of the Goyo canister. They know there's very little util on site, and they're going to feign that they're rushing fast. They've already expended 1 Lion charge and 1 Gone 6 to get this fire on the go. For some reason, even though the fact that there's fire on the go, Alamau also smokes the fire. Potentially feeling the heat a little bit there on that round. Not sure why you would smoke the existing fire. Now, the same routing's going to occur. Herds in garage again. KZ in dining again. W7M are bringing the same thing. G2 are playing the same strategy, and potentially might find the same result. However, Herds, smart player. I like what W7M do when they're doing this. When they do this opportunity spot style of play. When it works for them, it does genuinely look really good. Now, they know that Herds walked in garage last time and then straight into meeting and then down the hatch. This time he's going to take a slightly different route. He's going to go down the laundry stairs. And there's nothing. G2 have such little utility because of the roam strategy that they're choosing that Herds has managed to get himself deep into sight. As it is, Benja has fallen down the freezer stairs, killed him and seen him. But he's got G2 kind of guessing at what's going to happen all over the place. So Benja's fallen off the roam. So now the actual roam strategy is somewhat weak. And Doki, for some reason, has locked himself into garage. So Doki will be punished. And now there is only one player on the roam. That is going to be the Goyo out over towards the over towards the big tower. So a lot of map control taken by W7M within 1 minute. To be fair to G2, they did punish Herds. It could have, the magnitude of Herds' play could have been far, far, far worse than what it was. But G2 got the punish and managed to, you know, successfully get that kill. So it's a 4v4. One player on the roam, 3 players on site. But site's weak. Site is not meant to be the battleground where the round is won or lost. If we look at KZ's POV, there's no shield protecting the player that's playing inside of Laundry. There is no shield, and there is a drone that knows about him as well, and he will get tagged up. He will get shot. Doesn't get finished, does get shot. Now, whilst this is going on, where has poor old Julio died from? Julio's hit a Capcan trap. So, a slight adaptation from G2. If they're gonna just find some, if they're gonna try and find some pace and just find their way into a site, then let's play Capcan. And Julio has gone boom. So Capcan and Benja has found another kill. Now, I would say G2 are still not necessarily in the most advantageous position, especially if this freezer player dies. They do not want to be fighting this fight with 1:30 left inside a site. So it's very important that the Jaeger doesn't die here. They've managed to pick up Benja, but W7M, they're finding the pace. They're hitting the site. They know that one's injured. They know that they've got an opportunity here to hit the site. They presume somebody's probably in T1 on the roam out towards the north side of the building. Because they've not cleared it, they won't have even shot the cam at this point. So they know they had an injure and they're hitting site off the back of it. JV's walked down and found 2 massive kills. KZ's walked down freezer and found another kill onto Blur. This is the battleground G2 did not want to be fighting because it's just not advantageous. There's no shield. There's no shield. These are 2 common shield spots. There's no reinforcement. There's no reinforcement. There's a lot of common things that are here when you play in these power positions that G2 aren't playing. So the fact that Herds makes the play all the way back at the start of the round scuppers G2 basically because they're so worried and they had to drop down to site. Because they dropped down to site, that made site the battleground rather than the roam. And now it's a 3v1 where the player is on meeting hatch, drops down, that will be Virtue. Plant's going down. Changes the plant position, baits out the C4, and starts replanting again. Now, Virtue does actually have an opportunity here, but goes into freezer instead. Virtue had an opportunity to get to highway and just peek out and get this kill. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's now in freezer, edging himself out, peeks the freezer angle, and dies. Now, G2 have, I think, got the strategy wrong for 2 rounds in a row here. They've allowed W7M straight back into this map by allowing them to win laundry supply twice because they want to stick to this roam strategy. I do feel the way that W7M play and the way W7M have played throughout the whole of this grand final, maybe apart from Clubhouse, is that the synergy has not been on sync. That they actually aren't executing strategies. They're looking for gaps and hitting them. That's exactly what they did in the last 2 rounds, and it's worked out for them in both of them. Round 9's coming in hot for G2, and as we can see, they've lost the last 2 laundry supply defenses, so they're going to go up to kids and dorms, and we can see that west to east will go again. It looks fairly default from the west side. The attic, the closet wall was actually opened in prep phase, but then reinforced off, so it looks like G2 had some debate on what they wanted to do. It looks like the setup that they've got going on, with the shielding trophy, the head holes towards armory, the feet holes towards top armory, that would all complement a closet rotate and would actually be really good for the closet rotate, but they've reinforced it off. So G2 are doing some kind of extension out towards the east. They're not doing too much to the west. They've left attic walls soft, which I think is a deliberate maneuver so that they can have late rotation options. And then they've got one player that's playing below in security with just barricades and then a triple reinforcement. So the reason that you would play in security like this is that you want to play vertically onto big window. You think that the enemy might want to do these big window executes where you come in and you plant deep in the big window, and you want to be able to C4 that, and you want to be able to get rid of that. So it's not a surprise to see somebody down there. That somebody is, in fact, Blair, playing in that position. He's got the hatch that he can drop off down. He could go down the hatch, rotate his way back up T1, back up T2, and back to site through attic. It's fairly common, and G2 do like that setup to do that. But yeah, it does involve investing in a lot of utility down there, and Blair is pretty much in what is considered a suicide position. Now, W7M, 1 has spawned out towards the west, 4 have spawned towards the main door. We can see already that they've thrown an EMP grenade, so what are they up to? Because they seem to be looking like they're going to try and find something fast, which has been a key component of how they're playing. Across the attack so far. They've EMP'd the mute jammers. They've noticed the Kapkan traps here as well. And it looks like they're going to commit hard to try and take control of Master. Now, this player that is on the armory stairs, which is Doki, has been tagged up, has locked himself in an awful position, realistically. You don't want to be here as a defender. You especially don't want to be here as Wamai, and he's going to have to try and fight his way out of this. Manages to sneak himself away, and he's actually had an unreal 5 seconds there. Gets himself away, and Herds has also team killed Casey. Really good, I would say. Well, not really good. Doki locked himself in a bad position. W7M didn't punish it, so really bad from W7M's point of view. And Doki is going to thank his lucky stars that he's been able to get away with his life. 3 people are now trying to take only Master, and then 1 is out towards the west side. He's working his way through Showers 90. We'll let this carry on and keep rolling. Kapkan trap injures 1 in classroom. It's all gone a bit wrong. It's all gone wrong for W7M so far. Hertz and KZ have got themselves in a big old jumble there. And, yeah, the injured player is going to try and just crawl out. Now, Julio at the same time. Where has Julio gone? He's managed to find a kill. He's gone on the upside down rappel. And whilst all this is going on, he's managed to find a kill onto Benja, who was trying to C4 Master. They believe that they've got... So, here's why. They understand that the Kapkan trap has gone off. They've heard it. I think probably through these vertical holes, because Doki has rotated back towards the game's breach because he's going to impact trick. So they made some vertical holes. They've heard the Kapkan go off, understand it's probably a down, and Ben just tried to make a play on that, but he's done it in full view of the upside down master rappel of Julio. So, 4v4, just about. Volps backstabs and gets a kill onto Blair. And now, I talked about W7M overreacting. In this sense... Blair has taken a movement from security that he's supposed to be holding for the big window plant to maybe try and go punish the classroom injure. Another overreaction. So G2, for 1 injure from the Kapkan traps, have now lost 2 lives. But Herds is obviously injured. Another player is now going to peek out the main door and try and get the kill. As the revive's going off, that's about true. But he's evened it up. So we're now in a very similar scenario where W7M and G2 were when G2 were attacking, where W7M now know that there's 2 players from G2 in and around site and 1 player in the basement. So what I'm wondering straight away is how decisive they will be. Will they hit site straight away, or will they wait it back out? It looks so far that they're just going to wait it back out. You see Julio's still on the rappel. One is now going to go on Games rappel. And another player is coming to join them by the main door. Virtue has managed to get his way all the way back to that security corridor, bottom freezer stairs, and has actually got himself back into security. This is absolutely massive for G2. Because even though they lost that ground, W7M haven't gone and taken it. And they've allowed Virtue to escape with his life and get back to one of the positions in the strategy. G2, when they were attacking this and they noticed that they had a man advantage on site, even though it was a 3v3 or a 4v4 or whatever, were hitting site and were hitting it fast, we're confident. W7M in this scenario have absolutely slowed up. Thatcher goes off on the balcony. And Julio has gone to the roof. Not sure why they threw that Thatcher. Maybe just to mask the sound. Because there's one going big window. So they're now going to try and force big window. But they've allowed Virtue to get back into security. This is absolutely criminal from W7M. Virtue picks up one kill. If the second comes, Virtue's going to grab him. So W7M's plan B has just gone absolutely awfully. They didn't hit site. They didn't play with that confidence that we've seen them play with in the first 2 attacks. And now they're trying to absolutely scramble the round. They can't go in big window. So it's... And as it is, I say they can't go in big window. Julio played the oldest trick in the book there. Which is when people have got this type of hold, what do? You rappel. And because you rappel in, you're not in the vault animation. And you land past the verticality. So Virtue tries to play for the C4. So Julio's actually managed to get in. The Thatcher has walked into sight. Good recovery. Good understanding from Julio there, actually. I don't think it was the right play to play for big window when they allowed Virtue back down below. But they've managed to make it work. JV finds one, gets traded out. And Julio is now well known to be deep into sight. 40 odd seconds left. Takes the 1v1 with Virtue on the white stairs. Virtue wins it. And that's a round from G2. So I will say that I thought that G2 had some really good advantage. Particularly the fact that they got the entry kill through the team kill. They got an injure onto Herds. Then they, in turn, on the defense, overreacted and lost lives because of it. But Virtue played it. And again, big props to Virtue. Manages to find a kill. Then manages to rotate to the power position of security. Doesn't just be irrelevant. And the lack of intention and the lack of, I would say, quick response from W7M really cost that. Because if they had a push site in that 3v2, they had a very fair chance at winning the round. As it was, they let Virtue get back established. They went for double window and Virtue punished them. So that round for me was all on the way Virtue played. Good in the end from G2, but a scrappy round from both teams. G2 go back down to the basement. Now, do they realise the error of their ways? By initial looks, it looks like they do. This setup looks much more invested inside a site. Let's have a look at the walls. One wall in the closet, 2 walls in E-box, another wall in E-box, and a reinforced hatch. I'm seeing a Cade from G2. This would indicate it's not going to be a roam. The Cade, the Goyo, the Legion, the Smoke, the Jaeger. This is very much a turtle strategy. Maybe a little bit of false roam going on with somebody up in the freezer stairs or something. They've got a shield in blue. They've got players downstairs. To be precise, they've actually only got 2 players downstairs as this round has started. But they've got players in close proximity to site. One's playing tower stairs. That will be the Jaeger of Blair. With a reinforcement so that he can play on the tower stairs even if meeting control goes to the attackers. All of the hatches are reinforced. One's playing on laundry stairs and one's playing on freezer stairs. So this is exactly what G2 should be doing. You want to be playing a turtle strategy, but notice one good thing about the turtle strategy on the laundry side is you can have 3 players, 1 on each staircase that can be back in sight within, what, 3 or 4 seconds, shooting drones and falling back. They don't want to be roaming. They do just want to get rid of quick early utility. Now, W7M have spawned 2 players out towards blue, 1 player towards main side, and 2 players out towards construction. So we might see a full clear coming out, very similar to the way that G2 did it. And that's that. It's worth noting, Alamar has decided he's going to be a little spawn peek boy. Twitch drone comes in and sees him, but he finds the kill onto Herds. That's huge. Reason that's huge, how are W7M now going to get rid of the shield now that Herds has died? Well, maybe they can use the nades of KZ, but that is pretty much all they can do. Twitch cannot, Habana cannot, Monty cannot get rid of the shield. So there's only KZ and it's only lethal utility to get rid of the shield. They've got 2 attempts at this maximum because that Flores has just been the entry death. Things are looking good for G2 already. They don't need to overextend up on the top floor. And as you can see, they've got the kill. 20 seconds into the round, they know the round is won as long as they play to the win conditions, as long as they play to the power positions. And that's exactly what they do. Great call by whoever's called it on G2. You would presume Alamo that's saying, guys, I've killed Flores. Let's just get back to site. Let's sit in site, sit safe, because they're really going to have a hard time working us, trying to work us and work the site. And that's exactly what G2 do. One comes down Laundry, one comes down Freezer, one comes down Tower, and get yourself safe in the positions. So for W7M now, they know it's a turtle strategy because they've had the drones, they've droned out meeting, they know everything is, closed. They've seen it in prep phase because Herds, when it was a roam strategy, was looking for stuff on Ash. Now he was on Flores. So it's not gone too well for them, but they can take the ground that's given to them. They know that the ground is given. They've got Volps on the Monty. Now, what have I said multiple times about the Monty in this particular map is when you're playing with a Monty, you cannot be doing it from man disadvantage because the Monty creates an inherent man disadvantage because you've only got 1, 2, 3 guns up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guns up of G2. Now, the one thing that Monty does allow you is to push into spaces that you otherwise would be peeked and killed. So, for the Monty, that's how you've got to use him. He's got the EMPs, so he's got to go to meeting if they want to open the meeting hatch. But it looks like W7M are not focused on the meeting hatch. It looks like W7M are going to go for a Laundry and Freezer take. Now, this Monty is taking a little bit of liberties, but has pushed himself all the way into Laundry. And has got the... Is that the Goyo? Maybe it's the Goyo. Yeah. The Goyo of Benjamaster to leave in the end. So, W7M have taken the ground. They've taken the ground fast, and that is exactly what they want. If they don't have the man advantage, they don't have the breaching capabilities, and they can't get rid of the blue shield, they need to take ground that's given to them fast. And that's exactly what they've done thus far. Now, the Monty's rotating back up. Laundry's established. He is going to go and look for the hatch now with the pocket EMPs. Throws one, misses one. Throws another, misses another. Now, the Cade Claw... Where was the Cade Claw positioned? We're going to have to go and check where this Cade Claw is. But the Cade Claw stayed up. Meeting hatch cannot be established. That's another L that W7M have taken in this round. They're going to have to try and force Laundry, Freezer, and then with one backstab either down the stairs or into blue. Neither are advantageous. The reason neither are advantageous because of the positions that the defenders can play. On the staircase, because the defenders can now play guns up facing everywhere. They can cover tier 1, blue, Laundry and Freezer with at least 1 gun each, and the maximum guns that W7M can put there realistically is 2. So W7M are at numbers disadvantage. You can see the Jaeger is holding T1. E-box drop cannot be utilised by the attackers because they cannot open the breach, which means Alamo can sit and hold blue behind his shield. Both of these defenders in a very strong position. And then you've got the 3 defenders playing a kind of trident. Freezer, Laundry, and then this guy here that can float to play crossfires with either these 2 guys. So G2 in a very, very, very good position right now. It's all about, realistically for me, whether the backstab of W7M finds any success. As it is, where's this player going? He's going to go and join the main push. JV's going with the main push. He's not even going to go and backstab. So G2 can absolutely do what's called fronting this up. And what G2 can do is they can all sit basically behind this line and they can all just be looking at where this push is coming from and just leave one person, Blur, to deal with the backstab. And that's exactly what G2 do. If we look at it from G2's perspective, they're not worried about their backsides at all. All 4 of them are looking at the same angle. So I'm not a huge fan of W7M not backstabbing anybody. 50 seconds to go. Now, Alamo's used all of his smokes. But there are goo mines. And this is genius pick from Doki. He was loving the Legion across the whole tournament, to be fair. But the goo mines against the Monty are obviously super strong. Because the Monty has to unshield right now to try and get rid of the goo mine. Ionis peeks behind the Monty. Alamau was 100% ready for that. And also, it's worth noting, a really good change of where positions were being played by G2. Previously, this player was over here, and this player was over here. They've swapped the positions, and they've got themselves into the right positions at the same time, so that Alamau could smoke out the Monty in the freezer. So, Monty gets the hipfire kill onto Alamau, but Alamau's already killed the supporting act. You've got, 42 seconds left on the clock, and you've now got 1 player in Laundry, 2 in freezer, but this Monty still has to pull the goo mine out. JV finds a kill onto Doki, who perhaps overheats, but is trying to refrag his player out. Now, Virtue finds one from the closet back down to Laundry. So they now know the Monty is freezer alongside the Twitch, so they know that they only need to focus freezer. So what happens when you only need to focus freezer, and this probably happens more in ranked than it does in professional games, but you play 1 player on a long angle here, and then you have 2 people who basically just peek on his contact whenever he has contact and shoots. And that's the crossfire that G2 have established. Blair's played a very, smart game in terms of the movement here. As soon as he realizes nobody's backstabbing, he's got himself into that position. So what can the Monty do? Has to pull out another goo. Finds a C4. Really well played by Benja, actually, to hold on to the C4. Not a lot of players actually would have held the C4 in that scenario. Now they know that the Twitch is in freezer. They've just got to wait for this contact. And they'll wait and they'll wait. Twitch will walk out and bait out a peek. Or he'll shoot and bait out a peek. When he walks out, he knows there's 1 pillar, puts a shot in there. As soon as he does that, Benja will swing back out. As soon as the Jaeger shoots, Benja swings, gets the kill. Really good round from G2. Really well understanding, big understanding, good understanding of the win conditions that they had on the basement. And a great execution of them said win conditions. I do think W7M really fell apart on 2 fronts. They fell apart by having the entry def on herds, and they fell apart, actually 3 fronts. Fell apart with the entry def, that was number 1. Entry. Number 2 was the EMPs, and then the number 3 was no backstab. They didn't do a backstab, they lost. They couldn't get the meeting hatch because the EMPs didn't work, or not didn't work, they didn't throw them in the correct places, and they lost the entry kill. And after that, it was always going to be G2's round. Round 11 sees G2 having won Laundry and Supply and Kids and Dorms in round 9 and 10. Therefore, they've got to go to the tertiary site. The tertiary site of choice for G2 is Kitchen and Meeting. Now, G2, as we've seen all final, have actually been doing their setups a little bit eccentrically, having tried to hold on to the whole map by having, some kind of crutches in one side and then very, very strong reinforcements and utility in the other. This site is absolutely no exception. They're setting up a couple of baits and a couple of traps from the side of W7M, and we'll see if it works. So the first thing to note is that on the kitchen side, the kitchen wall to dining is open. It's also got a rotate in it. Now, they've got a castle, and Benja Master's job is going to be to try and hold on to this for as long as possible. Hold on to dining, hold on to showers. He's got a castle barricade, he's got feet holes. I imagine he creates some kind of rotate into showers to help him and plays in there. Now, on first glance, this is going to be very weak for Benja, but his job isn't actually to hold it. His job is actually to show presence, delay time, and fall back into sight. The reason that G2 can get away with doing this kind of extension is that they've put so much utility into the top floor. They've got 2 walls in Kids that are going to be reinforced and electrocuted. They've got 2 walls in games that are going to be reinforced, and the 2 trophy walls are going to be reinforced as well. G2 have put a lot of investment of utility upstairs and a lot of people upstairs. So even if the attackers take from the west side and they get this single wall and they look for a plant, where can they plant in kitchen? Well, nowhere, because it's completely covered by players who are playing it vertically, which is a really nice idea from G2. The sacrifice for this is that actually over on the big tower side, you've got to leave the stage wall soft. You can see it in play that there is only 1 wall from G2. So they cannot fully reinforce stage wall. What they're going to do is they're just going to play in and around there. They're going to put somebody there. Alamau is going to play close. We can see him here with the M870. He's got barbed wire. He's got his utility. He's just going to be a thorn in their side at least long enough. And G2 do this a lot, where they put the weak player in a weak position, or not a weak player, but they put a player in a weak position, but they give him enough utility to survive long enough so that his teammates can rotate to support him. Now, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of this setup, because I feel like if you do end up losing the fight for top floor, and inherently, if one player is playing tower and one player is playing dining, you're maximum going to have 3 people, but probably, if we scratch this out, probably 2 people on the top floor that is the stronghold, because you're probably going to want somebody in and around meeting to deal with any meeting pushes straight away. So up on the top floor, we can actually only see from these silhouettes, there's only 1 player right now, despite the fact that there is so much utility investment into him. So for G2, this feels a little bit too thinly spread for me. They need to be very fast and decisive on their defensive rotations, if and when the pressure occurs. We can see from W7M's point of view, there's 2 outside a main door, and then there is 2 that spawned construction. Sorry, 3 outside a main door. Couldn't find that 5th player there. And it looks like they're going to go up on the top floor as quickly as they possibly can. It looks like they're going to take the top floor. One's outside double window, one's outside master bedroom, and it's Herds that's going to go in. We've seen how fluid and eccentric Herds can be. Straight away, thing to note, Volps is going on the call. He's called. Herds is going to push into it. The Amaru potentially is going to come up the window. So G2 needs to be aware of this, and they need to be helping Blair out as quickly as they possibly can. Calls come out. Herds taken a lot of room already. Now, you can see, 1 player has already gone to pit. That player will be Alamo, but he is playing the M870. There's also 1 player that's going to come up the white stairs. So G2 are fluidly rotated. They've done very well to get to that point of view so far, and they've not lost lives. W7M a double stacked trophy door, and Herds seems completely aware that somebody might have gone up white to help. Drone comes in from a very long angle from the Amaru that spots the player in kids. That forces Herds to move. 2 players are now pushing trophy. 3 players are now pushing trophy. 4 players are now pushing trophy. This is how much this bomb site relies on G2 holding the top floor. If anything, they maybe should have 1 more player playing upstairs. Whether that be the Jaeger. Wait, who is who? Maybe it was the Capcan that was upstairs, not the Jaeger. I think the Jaeger's always been downstairs. I kept saying it was Blair. I think it was actually Doki. They maybe needed 1 more player to go up to the top floor, because this team fight is about to explode, and there's going to be 4 guns, potentially 5 if the Amaru goes through the window, facing up to 3 on G2. Doki quick peeks and gathers a lot of information. Let's see what information he finds in this. On the quick peek, he's seen 1 to his left. I'm going to have to slow this all the way down. It's a shame I can't go even slower. He sees 1 to his right, sorry, and I think he saw a couple to his left. He knows that these guys are pushing as fast as they can, yeah. So he quick peeked and he saw the 1 to his right and only shot that. Doesn't actually know the magnitude of how many people are over there. Throws the C4. C4 gets shot. Volps at the same time explodes into pit, kills Alamo. So that's the first death that G2 have taken. And now the attack is pushing all the way through the top floor. If they lose this fight in the next... Well, if they lose this fight, they probably lose the round. This is the stronghold for G2. Castle peeks out, gets killed by JV, because W7M simply have too many numbers. Now, the Capcan has peeked out and has found a down onto the player in pit. And one thing that I want to know is actually the Amaru straight away has gone into T3 because they know that there's a rotate and they want to cut the rotate. So even if the Capcan was to escape, or if the Jaeger was to come up the tower stairs to help the Capcan, either the Amaru would punish it. Now, you've still got a 3v1 on Doki, who's actually done very well to get to this position, but does get taken back out. C4 trades him out from Virtue. I think that C4 was maybe a little bit late from Virtue and G2. Realistically, a C4 somewhere here, about 20 seconds ago, would have actually netted a couple of kills and allowed the players to keep top floor. So, W7M take control of the top floor. They've got the Amaru, they've got the Nomad, they've got the Thatcher. Not fully optimal, but if we look at the way site's set up, now they've got top floor control. If they want to, with this lineup, they can play vertically above security and above kitchen. They've also got the Nomad with 2 traps, who can Nomad trap the green door and maybe, let's say, the security door. Or not even the security door. He can Nomad trap the bottom white door and the green door, or the rotate, any of those. And a plant can just come in behind this island should W7M drone and take this ground once they've done the vertical. They've got a minute 40 to play with. They've done this in really good time. As you can see, this rotation is happening from Blur, and it's happening way too late. He's come up the stairs, noted KZ was holding it, he's made a great play. So now the dynamic shifted even further, that they just need to know where this last player is and just play numbers against him. He's just taken chip damage and shot back at KZ. He's known to be green hallway, can either go stage or down back into kitchen. He's still sticking green hallway, kills JV on the hatch, and now Virtue's in a 1v2 with a guy on T1 stairs and a guy that's going to go pit. Now, Julio could play this smartly, or he can just choose to peek him. If he was going to play it smartly, he could use the Nomad trap, hold him out, drop, and just play for the plan. As it is, KZ and Julio were going to drop together. They wanted to play for the kill. They didn't want to try and play it smartly and give Virtue any opportunity. KZ peeks down and wins the round. Round 12. Now, G2 have gone back up to the top floor. The thing about this is they can't go laundry supply because they've won it previously. They've just lost meat and kitchen. But they do have a primary site choice available, kids' dorms. Now, the last time they defended it, didn't go amazingly, but they won it. Now, they overreacted, particularly Blair down in the security room overreacted, but also Benja overreacted on the trophy shield. Should G2 not overreact, they probably win that round convincingly. So things are still looking good for G2. That's why they are rocking basically the same setup. However, they are not reinforced off the closet walls yet. They're going to keep those walls open. Now, it's exactly the same setup from G2, which means W7M should be changing something across the round in terms of trying to beat it, because they should have lost it, to put it bluntly. They shouldn't have lost it the last time that they played it and last time that they attacked it, but they messed up in the mid-round. Now, G2 have changed one thing. They've changed the location of a player, realistically. The Aruni of Virtue is playing up in T3. Not entirely sure why, because W7M didn't show presence on Kid's window or small tower last time, but I think he's just trying to rat it out and hide it out in there for the time being, just in case he finds anything. As we join the round, a Lion Charge has just gone off, and it looks like W7M might be looking to play something fast. One thing that I noted when we were just zooming around there, there's a drone in security that directly looks at, and nobody's on it, but it directly looks at Blur. Given these locations and the fact that there's droning going on over by the small tower side, I would actually wonder whether W7M are going to go and focus on Blur and just go and kill Blur. Because he's a soft, he's a weakness in G2's hole right now. He's on his own. He's only got mute jammers. And he can be killed, especially if somebody gets in bottom 3 to stairs. They can focus onto Blur without any kind of real team play coming out of G2. We'll have to see where they go. One player has got all the way up to Shower's hallway. That'll be the Nomad. Worth noting, KZ and W7M, they're playing a lot of Nomad in this match, but they're not seeing a great deal of success from the Nomad either. So, that's a curious one that they're sticking with him. But it makes sense that they don't want the rotations of people to happen. And Nobody's, never a bad pick, even though Nomad's not, the best operator these days. Site gets breached with Habana pellets. And this is where we're going to start seeing it go on to Blur. The flash comes in. His door is nomaded. He either has to fight this, or he has one escape option, which is down the hatch. Now, a lot of teams usually would put somebody below to catch him as he drops down the hatch, so that he has to stay and fight. W7M have not done that, so Blur can actually stay alive. He also has vertical above his door, which you can see the other SMG-11 playing for him. That will be LML. Now, his ADS... Does he have an ADS? No, because the flash has just gone off. Therefore, that means that the nade can come in, but it doesn't. At the last second, Herds throws the nade and throws it towards top white. Not entirely sure why, because I thought he was nading the security angle. He seemed very focused on it. And then he changed right at the last minute and just threw it top white. I think maybe he heard the footsteps, and that's from the nade. Really good movement there by Alamau, in all honesty, to get that nade away from Blur. I don't know if he did that intentionally, but he certainly got the nade to move. Now, W7M have completely changed their approach. There is nobody main door. There is nobody master side. You can see that by the fact that Doki has got back down the lobby stairs and he's had a look. He's even ran out main door to see if he could find anybody, but he can't. So G2 should be acutely aware now that this is a West clear coming out of W7M and should play as such. Herds is going to try and creep up the white stairs. Now, this is where somebody needs to take ownership of this, because if Herds gets to the top of the white stairs, and realistically, that person probably should be Doki, because he can sit in this position and hold the white stairs. What that would enable, if Doki was able to be here and hold this, would enable that Alamau can sit here and hold the vertical down. If Alamau can sit there and hold the vertical down, then Blair can stay safe in security, knowing that his door will not be pushed, and he can play deep. Now, also, G2 at the same time should be wondering about Kid's window, because Kid's window also would stop Alamau playing in that position. So Alamau's playing in a very difficult position to play that requires a lot of team play around it. As it is, Doki's not holding the white stairs. Alamau's having to smoke it and try and play the angle. He's playing a very difficult position himself there. And it looks like, actually, with the way W7M are stacking, they're going to have a quick push. There's going to be 2 up white stairs, maybe 1 in the kids' window rappel, and 1 player in, it looks like, maybe going in attic. That'll be the Lion, or at least holding the T2 player. Another smoke goes out, so they're waiting it out again. They're basically waiting for these smokes to dissipate, and then they're going to basically explode into sight, is my theorizing right now. Lion charge comes out, and they go. Cap can kill. Amaru into sight. 1 goes big window. So the 3-2-1 has not gone too well because another smoke's gone. I think Herds has jumped the gun a little bit there, but they've tried to coordinate and they've tried to go together. At least they've done that. So now the Amaru has gone into sight and found 1 kill onto Alamau before he's been traded back out. And that's the distraction that you would now need. C4 comes out from Blur, doesn't find anything. JV gets a huge kill here. Gets an absolutely huge kill. Where has he even gone in to get this kill? I think he went in green window as all of this was going on. Yes, he did. So whilst all this is going on, JV's gone 6 himself into green window, as there's a lot of sound and distraction going on, and has gone up to T2 stairs and found the kill onto Virtue. So now the state of play is, JV has got attic. 1 is bottom white stairs, and 1 is big window. They know Blair is security, but Blair is completely stuck in security, if I'm being honest, because of the existence of the Nomad trap. It was there. I don't know if it still is there. It might not be. Actually, he's not stuck in security, but he might not know that anyway. So there's 1 in security and 2 in sight. They know 1's deep in kids. They don't know where the second player is. So it's just for W7M to figure that out. They find Doki is in the window, by the double window, and he's tucked. Nomad will follow in, refrag his teammate out. They know 1 player is now kids, 1 player is now security. They need to kill this kids player, who is Benja Master. Now, Benja makes a call here. Not sure it's the right one, but he makes a call to drop off, and he's going to play for a C4. Problem is, G2 don't have sufficient information to be able to hit a C4 should the plant go down. And also, you also cannot C4 the plant location by the concrete. So plant's going down. It's all up to the Lion to hold on to top white. Gets 1 kill onto Blair. C4 goes off and injures him. And now we're down to a 1v1. Benja's got himself to top white. He's waiting it out, trying to bait the peaks. And it was a simple crossfire. As soon as Benja walks in and shoots and kills JV, KZ is going to swing. Now, W7M executed a West clear. I don't think it was the best West clear I've ever seen. I think they got a little bit fortunate, to be honest, that their Amaru and in worked and got a kill. And actually that, you know, they were able to just create some chaos and find the kills. You know, the kill on Attic to Virtue, for example. I also think they got a little bit fortunate with G2's decision-making, that they had Alamo trying to hold his own top white stairs and hold the door for Blair, rather than getting Doki and, you know, potentially Benja to help out with that. So Ultimately, a round won by W7M, but again, and I've said this a couple of times, and this is often what you see in finals, it did get a little bit scrappy. We go back down into the basement of Oregon. Now, an actually interesting one is we've not necessarily seen unlimited overtime on Oregon, but the way that the overtime usually works on Oregon is that both teams will win their defense of the laundry, which is the primary site on Oregon in the overtime, and then it always, usually goes down to the 15th round. If you look at when Oregon hits overtime, it will usually be an 8-7 round where it's determined on a kid's dorm's attack or defense. As it is, we're facing unlimited overtime here, so G2 actually could have, and G2 and W7M could have just traded blow for blow until even the tertiary sites got to the point of being defended or attacked. Now, W7M, they're back to their normal setup where they're going to play a shield in blue, they're going to play quite turtly, they've brought the Cade, they've brought the Goyo. It's all very nice and normal, hatches are reinforced. Player positions are fairly standard as well, 3 on site, 1 top laundry stairs, 1 in T2. Now, G2, they're going to look for... Sorry, that's G2. It's G2 that are doing that. It's a turtle setup. That's what they won on last time, especially when they got the Swarm Peak onto Herds. I doubt that's going to happen this time, to be fair, although Alamau is still looking for it. It's G2 that's on the defense, not W7M. Now, W7M look like they're going to full clear this map. They've got 1 player going big window, 1 player outside of small tower. They've got 1 player outside of main door, and they've got 1 player outside of master. Where's the 5th player for W7M? Still in spawn. So they're going to try and full clear this. You can see the entrances are into the top floor for W7M. They're trying to keep the pacing fast. Now, I keep saying now, one thing to note, intuitively from Benjamaster, and perhaps unfortunately, he doesn't kill JV, but he has an idea. He's playing top laundry stairs. There is very likely a camp up for him, and that was very... Was it potentially Doki that was sitting on the cam that was calling this?
10 seconds left. 5 seconds to go.
Or has Benja just heard it? Looks like maybe Benja's just heard the sound cue and tried to see for the player inside a master. Unfortunately for Benja, he only achieves the down but not out. He doesn't actually achieve the full kill. But that's still a good advantage. He's done a lot of HP damage. Like I said, just unfortunate there's not a 5v4. Especially given the fact that that was Thatcher. So... a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. What Thatcher was trying to achieve was get into Master and achieve the vertical onto Laundry. He's now achieved that, but it has cost him most of his HP to do so. And it's worth noting, actually, the Thatcher HP change, going down to a 1 speed, just saved JV's life there. Was that Thatcher on a 2 speed? He dies to that C4 any day. W7M have then continued working in for the rest of the map. Only thing they've not yet taken has been meeting. So they're going to clone the freezer stairs. They know that there's 2 players on the freezer stairs as well. So they're not going to fully take freezer stairs yet. You would imagine that KZ plays it quite passively. Might just quick check it, but basically he's going to play that passively. He's not going to drive down there. Flores drone goes down lobby stairs. Probably, I'm not exactly sure what this is looking for. I think it's just scouting for some utility, having a little drone. Will get rid of, doesn't get rid of one of the Goyo canisters, not entirely sure why. Now, one thing to note again, and this is really unlucky that JV didn't get killed by the C4, is actually W7M struggled massively when they brought the Monty to get this hatch open. They will now absolutely 100% open the hatch because of Thatcher, because Thatcher is obviously so much better than the pocket EMPs. G2 have filtered themselves back into site. They're now just going to go and play those power positions in and around site that they're going to try and get to. They're going to allow W7M to go through the processes of opening up the hatches, you know, wasting the time, using the EMPs, yada, yada, yada. And that's all going to happen. You can see the Thatcher and the Thermite doing, you know, the runs through to go and get both hatches. So we're going to get into a position with about a minute to go where, when I talked about it, and I talked about it earlier on in the video, where we're going to have a situation of 2 executes having to happen. Now, Doki has got the kill onto Herds. Where has that happened? Outside of blue. So what you want to do, and I talked about it, is you want to, if you're going to go blue and T1 and try and take blue and elbow and everything, you need to execute to achieve this control. That's your first execute. And then your second execute, and I'm going to put it in blue, is to execute onto the site. So you've got part 1 and then part 2. W7M are trying to keep the pace with part 1. So what they're trying to do, and you can see the players, two players here are going to drop the E-box hatch as it's opened. One player should walk down tower stairs, and one player should walk in blue. However, from Hertz's point of view, he peeks before the hatch is opened, dies to Doki. So these players on the patch are now late. So the synchronization is now late. Volps walks down the tower stairs before the hatch is opened, and Doki gets another freebie. If these guys going down the hatch are the first people down, Volps and Hertz probably both stay alive and probably make this an actual team fight and actual execute. As it is, they go down the hatch, or those two players went early before the hatch was opened, and for some reason JV thought that he could get away with going down an electrocuted, not an electrocuted hatch, a hatch with Habana pellets going off, whilst he was 20 HP, so he dies to the Habana. So all three of those kills are completely W7M shooting themselves in the foot there by going before the hatch was opened, going before the execute, because they're trying to pinch some time. So one guy has now dropped the hatch, and they do have a backstab player on the freezer hatch, but that's it. Drops the hatch, makes his presence known in sight, Alamo kills him. So the only and the final player to go is going to be KZ, who was last spotted ages ago on the freezer stairs, but G2 simply now can just look at every single angle that they want to look at. They can look at every single one until someone finds some contact, and then they can play it out from there. W7M seriously shot themselves in the foot this round just with desynchronization. Now, it is a grand final. It is overtime of the potential last map. But these are the things that they should be getting right, and they had been getting right for most of the tournament. But it's slowly but surely been going wrong in nearly all of their attacks so far in this tournament. And it's all up to KZ. Finds one, is well known in freezer. The second player is going to peek him. And finally, he will die to a shotgun. That is advantage now G2 going into what could be the very final round of the Six Invitational. Round 14. Now, W7M, they're going to get back onto the basement. They're going to go onto their defense in this overtime. As we can see, soft walls again to freezer, rotate. It's all very standard. We've seen this before from W7M in terms of their roam setup. They've got a roam strategy going that focuses on holding on to meeting. It's worth noting that they've not reinforced off the meeting walls to kitchen or the kitchen wall to dining. They've left that soft. They've left the tower wall soft. Instead, they're focusing on extending their roam vertically, very much up onto the top floor with player positions. They're also bringing a Capcan, a Solace, a Rooney, Mute and Smoke. Now G2, they've brought along the Monty, and it looks like from this point of view, they're going to potentially look at clearing out this roam and doing it with a little bit of pace. We've seen that G2 have done the full clear whilst the Monty has gone blue solo before, and we're seeing kind of that's what Alamo is doing, but instead of going out towards the blue door, he's going to the T1 door to just try and show presence. W7M on their defenses have historically overreacted to that, so Alamo is absolutely putting that presence. He's also, by virtue of going into... By the fact that he's gone into Tower 1 stairs, he's also cutting the rotates, mainly, of these people up on the top floor. So they've got a choice to make. Do they want to fight a potential 2v5, or do they want to drop and drop, but give up so much ground that it's not even funny? So both sides, it's not really the best. What W7M maybe could and maybe should do is actually, if they understand that it's only the Monty on his own, go and fight him with 2 or 3 people and really focus him. I would potentially even call that an overreaction, as I've been saying they've been overreacting, but the fact that Alamo is in and cutting this rotate option down makes it very tricky for these W7M players to play up on the top floor. As you can see, 1 has dropped the hatch, 2 has dropped the hatch. And they look set that they're going to drop the meeting hatch. They've already forfeited the top floor in terms of ground. And G2 are actually looking at taking some inspiration from W7M. Alamo's cut the rotate. They know it's a roam setup, and G2 have found a pocket of space to push into garage here. It's very nice from G2 in terms of creating some pressure one side and then hitting the other. This is exactly what W7M have done quite a lot across the whole tournament. So G2 are just going to creep themselves down freezer stairs. They've shot the cam. W7M seem aware, but Doki's feeling it. He's taking himself all the way deep into freezer. He's got that established. His flank's also now being held by his friend on the Flores, by Benja. So the flank's been held. Doki's pushed deep. Blair's pushing lobby solo. And every single one of the W7M members, apart from the Solace, has decided that they're going to drop down to site, forfeiting this ground to G2 within 1 minute and 15 seconds. Alamel's now working down tower stairs, taking up a lot of attention away from Doki. That little bit of attention that drew the Aruni away has now allowed Doki to work his way up Freezer. And this is probably what wins the round. Doki finds the kill. Benja finds the kill onto the flank. Suddenly, from absolute nowhere, it's 5v3. G2 have Freezer control. They have T1 kind of control on the staircase. They've got laundry control. It's now all getting very worrying and very aggressive from W7M. They need to find picks back. So what does their mute player do? Julio, on his own, thinks, you know what? I'm going to go and shotgun close to the Monty. The Monty now has a friend with him. Virtue has come to join the party. Played that very well. Very smart. Gets himself up. Gets the kill onto Julio. And at the same time, the Capcan has decided, right, I need to find a kill back onto Doki. What happens there? He dies. Now, Blair's died to a Capcan trap on Laundry, but it's a 1v4. 2 on tower stairs, 2 in Freezer, and Volps is on his own with an SMG-11. This round is won. G2 have won the Six Invitational. Great opportunity spot in that very last round from G2 to bring the pace, and that will be them winning the entire Six Invitational, and they've done it in a very convincing fashion.